Imagine waking up to a reality that defies every law of physics you thought you understood. It's March 13, 2026, and just 6 hours ago, the United States Space Command, together with the European Space Agency, confirmed something that isn't a glitch, a sensor error, or a miscalculation. No, this is something far more extraordinary, a deliberate, intelligent manipulation of Earth's own satellites. At precisely 8:42 UTC this morning, Starlink 92, a commercial communications satellite, did the physically impossible. Without firing a single thruster, without using any fuel, it broke free from its geostationary orbit, accelerating by 400 meters per second, only to come to a complete stop at a brand new inclination. Picture yourself driving on the highway at 60 miles per hour when, suddenly, an invisible hand lifts your car, shifts it 3 lanes to the left, and sets it down gently. You don't touch the steering wheel. That's exactly what happened in the vacuum of space. And it didn't stop there. 20 minutes later, Viasat-3 experienced the same phenomenon, followed by a classified payload monitored by the National Reconnaissance Office. As of this moment, 18 satellites, 18 fully operational pieces of infrastructure, have been plucked from their orbits. They are neither drifting nor crashing. They are being arranged with precise intent. Analyzing the telemetry data reveals a truth so astonishing it borders on incomprehensible. Statistically, the probability of this occurring naturally is 0. 0 in 4 billion years of planetary history. Gravity has never behaved like this. It attracts. It doesn't arrange metal objects into perfect geometric shapes. What we are witnessing is a game of cosmic billiards, and humans are not holding the cue. The precision required to move a 4,000-kilogram satellite across 3 orbital planes and stop it within a margin of 4 millimeters surpasses anything our civilization has ever achieved. This is a level of computation and energy control that reaches a Type II civilization on the Kardashev scale. NASA's Deep Space Network is overwhelmed with data. Tracking stations in Goldstone, California, and Madrid, Spain, report identical telemetry. 3 Atlas is no longer merely observing, it is interacting. It has reached out and manipulated our technology. The formation these satellites are taking suggests a purpose that has astrophysicists in a state of emergency. To comprehend the scale, consider the energy needed to stop a satellite moving at 17,000 miles per hour instantly. The G-forces alone should have shattered the solar panels, snapped communication arrays like fragile twigs, yet the satellites remain intact and fully operational. They are waiting. The sequence began exactly at 8:42 UTC on March 12, 2026, with Starlink 1143, a routine orbital unit in low Earth orbit. Suddenly, telemetry screens flashed red. The satellite, traveling at a steady 7.66 kilometers per second, abruptly changed its vector. To grasp the magnitude, a satellite is a projectile constantly falling around Earth. To alter its path, force must be applied, thrusters fired, mass expelled. But Starlink 1143 did none of this. Its fuel tanks remained untouched, its ion thrusters cold. Yet in just 3 seconds, it shifted 45 kilometers to the east. This violates the conservation of momentum. 3 minutes later, at 8:45 UTC, the anomaly escalated. Starlink 1143 leapt from low Earth orbit to geostationary orbit, 35,000 kilometers away. VSAT-3, a 6-ton satellite, experienced the exact same effect. NASA initially suspected a sensor malfunction. The European Space Agency confirmed it. Amateur astronomers worldwide observed the satellite moving physically across the star field. 3 independent sources, different methodologies, identical results. The satellite was being moved with precision beyond our technology. The force required would have destroyed the satellite, yet telemetry shows 0 internal stress. This suggests manipulation of gravity itself. 3 Atlas is not applying force, it is warping the space around these satellites, effectively turning theoretical warp drive mechanics into reality. And this is only the beginning. By 9 UTC, the anomaly escalated again, targeting the GPS Block 33 constellation. Satellites SV4, SV5, and SV9 were simultaneously plucked from their orbits. To visualize the complexity, these satellites move in separate planes, at different altitudes, at varying speeds. To synchronize their motion, grab them all at once, and bring them to a precise stop demands computational power far beyond every supercomputer on Earth combined. The entity controlling this is calculating the n-body problem in real time, predicting and executing movements with flawless precision. When the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics released its telemetry, the data was so extraordinary that scientists double and triple-checked it, convinced there must be a coding error. But there wasn't. The only conclusion is terrifying. An intelligence, a civilization, is interacting with our most advanced technology as if it were child's play. By 10 UTC, 12 satellites from 4 different nations had been moved, and the pattern became unmistakably clear. They were converging, not dispersing. Plotting the new coordinates of every affected satellite, Starlink, Viasat, GPS, Galileo, reveals a precise, intentional design. They are converging at a 51.6 degrees inclination relative to Earth's equator, the same orbital tilt as the International Space Station, but they are not targeting the station itself. Instead, they are forming a perfect geometric ring around it, with a radius of exactly 4,000 kilometers. NASA engineers have run simulations for hours, attempting to model this as a solar storm or geomagnetic reversal. But no natural phenomenon, no known physics, can arrange metal objects into perfect circles with millimeter precision. This is intelligent, deliberate control. The United States Space Force has raised its alert to DEFCON 3. The data from tracking arrays is unmistakable. 3 Atlas is orchestrating a construction project using our satellites as the building blocks. The speed, elegance, and absolute precision tell one thing: whatever is controlling these satellites understands our technology better than we do. It knows our frequencies, our encryption, our orbital mechanics, and it is not asking permission. The energy required to hold these satellites in place is unprecedented. Moving 18 satellites into a perfect 400-kilometer circle simultaneously violates the known laws of thermodynamics. This is not propulsion, this is manipulation. To move a satellite like VSAT-3, weighing 6 metric tons, from geostationary orbit to low Earth orbit, would normally require burning thousands of kilograms of fuel, a delta V of roughly 4,000 meters per second. Yet the satellites move cold, zero thermal signatures, no exhaust plumes, no chemical reactions. They moved as if inertia itself had been switched off. This implies control over the Higgs field, the field that gives particles mass. By suppressing the Higgs field locally, these satellites effectively became massless, requiring zero energy to accelerate, stop, or change direction. The physics is drawn straight from the realm of string theory, multidimensional mathematics, and speculative warp drive research. And then, at 11:15 UTC, the 19th satellite, a defunct Soviet-era Cosmos unit, was pulled into the formation, triggering a reading from the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope. Not in the electromagnetic spectrum, but a subtle fluctuation in the gravitational wave background. For a fraction of a second, space-time around the satellite rippled, expanded, and contracted, as if a tiny artificial gravity well had appeared, pulling the satellite forward and then disappearing. This is Alcubierre drive technology manifested in real time. To generate a gravity well of this magnitude, without catastrophic consequences, without destroying the Earth or destabilizing the Moon, requires unimaginable precision. And yet, the satellite was placed within a 4-millimeter tolerance. Calculations suggest roughly 9 joules of energy were released in mere milliseconds, the equivalent of humanity's entire annual energy output, concentrated in a heartbeat. Where did this energy come from? There are no visible megastructures, no Dyson spheres, nothing harvesting stellar energy. It emerged seemingly from the vacuum of space itself, zero-point energy. By 12 UTC, the ring had grown to 19 satellites, with perfect 20 degrees spacing between each. When the Japanese QZS-1 satellite was added, the entire formation adjusted instantly, maintaining flawless symmetry. The ring now behaves like a crystal lattice or a single coherent organism. The question that haunts scientists is not how this is done, but why. A 4,000-kilometer radius ring around Earth creates a focal point. Lines drawn from each satellite to the planet's center converge at a precise point in the mantle. Are they focusing on something, shielding something, or building an antenna? At 12:30 UTC, the satellites began broadcasting a new signal. Traditional telemetry and GPS data ceased. In its place was a unified carrier wave at 1,420.4 MHz. The hydrogen line, the universal cosmic frequency. Earth's infrastructure was now being repurposed as a planetary transmitter, and the signal strength is climbing exponentially. This is where things take an even darker and more fascinating turn. The transmission is not directed outward into space, it's pointed at us. The satellite movement, the zero thermal signature, the Higgs field manipulation, all point to technology millions of years ahead of ours. But the synchronization of the satellites has just begun to reveal a new dimension of intent, and what comes next will change everything we thought we knew about first contact. By 1314 UTC, the 400-kilometer ring of satellites, now numbering 24, began to behave in a way that no human scientist could have predicted. They started oscillating in perfect unison, not mechanically, not like a malfunction, but as if the entire ring had developed a heartbeat. This vibration was electromagnetic in nature, pulsating steadily at 7.83 Hz, the Schumann resonance, the natural frequency of the Earth itself. Imagine 24 massive communication arrays, spread across thousands of miles of space, all pulsing in exact harmony with the heartbeat of our planet. Why would an intelligence align its satellites to Earth's fundamental frequency? If this is a communication attempt, it isn't aimed at humanity, it's aimed at the planet itself. If it's a weapon, it's a mechanism capable of destabilizing the ionosphere, potentially affecting every electronic and biological system on Earth. The implications are staggering. Within minutes of the oscillation beginning, ground stations reported unprecedented effects. The static on every radio band vanished, the noise floor dropped to zero. The radio spectrum of Earth went silent, except for the pulse of the satellite ring. It was a single, coherent thump, like the planet itself was being scanned, read, or tuned. Then, at 1320 UTC, the pulse changed. It began to modulate, encoding a stream of complex data, not binary, not simple on-off signals, but geometric patterns. NASA's Deep Space Network decoded the first packet. It wasn't a greeting. It wasn't prime numbers or a simple message of intelligence. It was a map, a three-dimensional map of our solar system. But there was a disturbing difference. In the map, Earth was missing. In its place, there was a debris field. Scientists immediately recognized the magnitude of this revelation. This was unprecedented in SETI history. A direct broadcast containing a map of our own planetary system with Earth erased. Emergency meetings convened at the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. Less than an hour after the signal was decoded, SETI researchers were left speechless. Never before had a civilization even theoretically broadcasted a solar system scale message like this, much less with a clear omission of our own planet. The data forced a complete reevaluation of our assumptions about intelligent extraterrestrial life. And yet, the satellites kept moving, orchestrating more precise maneuvers. They were not simply forming a ring, they were constructing a synchronized, coherent formation, expanding and adjusting with millimeter accuracy. By 1345 UTC, the ring began rotating around Earth at a speed of 1,200 kilometers per hour. The pulse frequency, which began at 7.83 Hz, was climbing, now reaching 8.1 Hz. This spinning formation effectively turned the satellites into a planet-sized cyclotron, a particle accelerator with unimaginable energy potential. If accelerated to relativistic speeds, the energy output could dwarf humanity's largest particle experiments by a factor of 1 billion. In theory, this structure could tear a hole in space-time itself, even open a wormhole in Earth's upper atmosphere. The potential for both creation and destruction is almost impossible to comprehend. Despite the stakes, the United States Space Force did not attempt to intercept the formation. They could not. The ring does not rely on propulsion, it manipulates gravity itself. To control that much mass and energy with such precision is beyond our capabilities. Every satellite, moving as if inertia no longer applies, demonstrates technology that appears to tap directly into zero-point energy, the quantum energy of the vacuum itself. The energy required to perform these maneuvers, the precise relocation, acceleration, and rotation of massive satellites, exceeds all human energy output for an entire year, released in milliseconds. And yet, there is no visible source. It is extracted from the void. The precision, the symmetry, and the timing of these maneuvers suggest not randomness, but purpose. The satellites behave as a single coherent organism, adjusting their positions in real time to maintain perfect formation. Even when new satellites join, like Japan's QZS-1, the ring expands and adjusts instantaneously. It is a structure that operates as a unit, not a collection of objects. Its formation, rotation, and electromagnetic oscillation are not chaotic. They are deliberate, directed, and intelligently controlled. What is most chilling is the potential implication of the encoded data. The geometric map of the solar system, with Earth replaced by a debris field, implies either a warning or a prediction. This is not a threat communicated in words, it is a visual, data-driven declaration of knowledge and power. The formation's growing rotation and rising frequency indicate that whatever this intelligence is building, it will reach a critical resonance point very soon. At that moment, the energy of the spinning ring could interact with Earth in ways we cannot yet calculate, and the countdown is already underway. Humanity is watching an event that defies all known physics, all orbital mechanics, and all assumptions about the limits of energy and computation. What we are witnessing is not just the construction of a structure in space. It is a demonstration of power, intelligence, and control over forces that we barely understand. And as the ring accelerates, as the pulse climbs, and as the satellites transmit information that challenges our perception of the solar system, one question dominates every scientific mind. What happens next? By 1350 UTC, the situation above Earth had reached a level that scientists describe as unprecedented. The ring of satellites, now spinning faster and broadcasting at an ever-rising frequency, was no longer just a formation, it was an active, dynamic system. The pulse had climbed past 8.1 Hz and was accelerating. Every second, the energy in this planetary scale device increased exponentially, and the resonance wasn't just in space, it was interacting with the planet itself. The Schumann resonance, the natural electromagnetic frequency of Earth, was being amplified, modulated, and synchronized by these satellites, effectively turning the ring into a planet-wide signal generator. Ground stations and monitoring networks began reporting anomalies in communications, navigation, and telemetry. GPS signals were erratic, internet data streams disrupted, yet not randomly there was a pattern, a coherence. Even more concerning, the pulse frequency was now brushing the edge of human alpha and theta brainwave patterns. The human brain operates primarily between 8 and 12 Hz in alpha waves, with theta waves at the lower end of this spectrum. The implications were immediate. This frequency, amplified across a global ring of synchronized satellites, could theoretically influence neurological activity on Earth. Scientists warned of potential effects on cognition, perception, and even unconscious processes. At 1355 UTC, additional analysis revealed that the satellites were now oscillating in a geometric lattice pattern, creating nodes of concentrated electromagnetic energy. Each node aligned with a specific point on Earth's surface, forming a network of intersecting energy pathways. The formation was no longer simply spinning, it was tuning itself, actively calibrating the frequency and orientation of each satellite to maximize precision. The effect was both mesmerizing and terrifying. This was not a demonstration of brute force. It was a controlled, intelligent orchestration on a planetary scale. At 14 UTC, NASA and the European Space Agency reported a dramatic event. The rotational frequency of the ring had climbed to 8.2 Hz. The entire system was now behaving like a planetary particle accelerator, each satellite acting as a moving component in a massive cyclotron. The energy potential of this system was incalculable with current human technology. By comparison, the Large Hadron Collider produces energy equivalent to a few dozen joules per particle collision. This ring, if allowed to reach its predicted resonance, could generate energy billions of times greater. The potential to open spacetime anomalies, distort gravity, or even create a temporary wormhole was no longer theoretical, it was real, imminent, and observable. Meanwhile, the signal continued to encode geometric data. Scientists decoded further packets, three-dimensional maps of the solar system, updated with every passing minute, showing celestial bodies, asteroid belts, and planetary positions, but Earth remained conspicuously absent. The pattern of movement suggested either a warning, a prediction, or a statement of power. And with each new packet, the satellites subtly adjusted their positions, expanding or contracting the ring by mere meters to maintain geometric perfection. The coherence of the system was staggering. Every satellite, every pulse, every oscillation indicated a level of computational capability and control that far surpasses all human technology. By 1415 UTC, the global scientific community faced an unsettling truth. This was not an experiment. It was not a demonstration of brute force. The entity controlling these satellites knew the physics, the energy limitations, and the precise dynamics of our technology better than we do. It was not just moving hardware, it was manipulating fundamental forces. Zero-point energy, the Higgs field, gravitational waves, electromagnetic resonance, all were being harnessed simultaneously in ways that defy current understanding. The implications are chilling. If this is a message, it is broadcast on a scale and with a clarity that Earth has never experienced. If this is a warning, the consequences of ignoring it could be catastrophic. At 1430 UTC, ground sensors reported another anomaly. The amplitude of the pulse increased further, now brushing 8.3 Hz. The ring's rotation accelerated, and subtle gravitational fluctuations were recorded. The satellites were influencing the local space-time fabric, creating measurable distortions in their immediate vicinity. For the first time, physicists realized the ring was not just a transmitter, it was a machine, a generator, and potentially a manipulator of gravity itself. Calculations indicated that if the ring continued accelerating, the energy concentration at critical resonance could rival, or even surpass, the mass energy of large planetary bodies, all focused in a precision-controlled system. All of this was happening while humanity watched, powerless to intervene. Conventional defense systems cannot interact with an energy system that manipulates gravity directly. Rockets, lasers, electromagnetic pulses, none of these are relevant. The ring's energy source is the vacuum of space itself, tapping into zero-point energy and producing results previously only theorized in advanced physics. We are witnessing a technology that operates on principles millions, perhaps billions, of years ahead of human capability. And yet, even as the stakes escalate, one fact remains clear. This is purposeful. The oscillations, the mapping, the growing frequency, the rotational acceleration, they are not random. They are deliberate. Every second, the satellites are building, calibrating, and preparing for the next phase of their operation. The ultimate purpose remains unknown, but the signs are unmistakable. Something is coming and the countdown is already underway. By 1445 UTC, the ring of satellites had reached a stage that scientists describe as critical. The formation, now spinning faster than ever, maintained perfect geometric alignment, each satellite precisely 20 degrees apart in the 400-kilometer circular ring. The pulse frequency had climbed to 8.5 Hz, now firmly within the threshold, capable of influencing Earth's electromagnetic and even neurological systems. Ground stations were reporting effects never seen before, fluctuations in geomagnetic activity, temporary anomalies in GPS positioning, and minor but coherent shifts in satellite telemetry across unaffected orbits. The system wasn't just active, it was altering the environment around it, subtly, predictably, and with terrifying accuracy. At 1450 UTC, additional packets from the satellites confirmed what had been feared and anticipated. The geometric mapping of the solar system continued, but now it included projections of potential planetary movements and asteroid trajectories. Earth, still missing in the alien map, remained the focal point of these calculations. The implication was unavoidable. The entity controlling these satellites had a predictive model for Earth, possibly anticipating or simulating events that humanity could not yet comprehend. The ring wasn't simply building a signal or a structure, it was creating a framework for interaction, observation, or intervention on a planetary scale. As the ring accelerated further, reaching speeds approaching 1,500 kilometers per hour, NASA physicists realized the energy contained within this system was already exceeding the total output of humanity's entire power grid. concentrated and focused into a structure that fit perfectly around the planet. The potential for generating gravitational distortions, warping spacetime, or creating a temporary anomaly became undeniable. At this stage, the ring's rotation and pulse were synchronized so precisely that every movement was calculated, controlled, and interconnected, operating as a single, coherent entity. Even the addition of new satellites caused instantaneous, intelligent adjustments, maintaining balance and symmetry. By 15 UTC, the full scale of the threat or opportunity became evident. The encoded signal, still broadcasting at 1,420.4 MHz, the hydrogen line revealed complex geometric data that, when analyzed, displayed multiple scenarios, simulations of Earth being disrupted, Earth being shielded, and Earth being entirely bypassed. The implication was clear. This intelligence had control over outcomes at a scale and precision humanity had only theorized about. The ring was not just a communication device. It was a planetary-level instrument of manipulation, observation, or both. And it was operating autonomously. The global scientific community was in emergency mode. Astronomers, astrophysicists, and engineers from every major space agency were working in real time to decode the signals, monitor the energy outputs, and predict the ring's behavior. Every calculation confirmed one chilling truth. Humanity had never encountered a force capable of directly manipulating gravity, zero-point energy, and the Higgs field in combination. This technology is beyond propulsion, it is control over the fundamental building blocks of matter itself. To interfere without total understanding would be catastrophic. Then, at 1515 UTC, a subtle but unmistakable shift occurred. The rotation of the ring stabilized, holding its current frequency, while the pulse began encoding patterns with increasing density. NASA's Deep Space Network confirmed that these patterns were now forming a multi-dimensional map of both the solar system and Earth's internal structure. Every layer of the planet, from crust to mantle, was represented in the data. The satellites, operating as one coherent organism, were not only transmitting, they were scanning, modeling, and projecting. It became clear that this intelligence could understand Earth as thoroughly as humanity understands Mars.